You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Welcome back, guys, to Built to Convert, where I talk with growth-minded founders, marketers, and business leaders on how strategy, analytics, and execution come together to drive meaningful growth. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive. At Session, we help mid-market and enterprise brands drive measurable growth across SEO, paid media, and analytics. If you're looking to unlock deeper insights, smarter strategy, and better performance, let's talk. Visit sessioninteractive.com. All right, guys, today we've got a friend of mine and a old connection and just a shark in the SEO space, Jeff Tucker, the SEO director at SoFi. One of the most recognized names in fintech, let's be clear. Jeff brings over a decade of deep organic search experience to the table with a career spanning an in-house agency and startup environments. At SoFi, he's been leading enterprise-level SEO efforts for one of the most competitive categories on the internet. We'll get to see how Jeff thinks about technical SEO, content performance, and scaling organic programs at the brand with a national reach. We also touch on how AI is changing workflows for SEO teams and what modern growth leaders need to know about organic search in 2025. Jeff, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, so yeah, we like to kick things off with just kind of a little bit of background. I know you and I have known each other for a long time, but I'd love to just get an understanding of like how you first came into SEO, and then we don't have to spend a ton of time on that, and then talk to me about kind of what you've been up to at SoFi. Curious around that.
Yeah. I mean, the first question is a great question. That's what I love to ask people. It's kind of a common theme. I just sort of stumbled into it with my first job, like out of business school. I was basically tasked with just getting more business to the website for the company. And so I sort of self-taught myself, went the agency route like most people, and then took a big jump with SoFi about 8 years ago. So they're a totally different company, really just kind of focused on student loans and student loan refinancing at the time. And over the past nearly decade, we've gone full suite of financial products, which has been great for me. It's like continual launches every year, learning about different sort of like financial sectors, and getting to experiment a lot more with different products. So it's been great. Yeah. And I think that's sort of like the pathway in the basic sense. And right now, I am, still 90% focused on the SEO side and like traditional methods, testing, content production, et cetera. But recently, we've definitely been sort of shifting our focus into the sort of growing AI frontier.
AI component, yeah. One question I always like, and it's a curious component because you and I have talked about it in the past of, being immersed in the agency world, working on a lot of top tier brands in those agencies, and then transitioning client side. It's funny, right? We kind of often bring that up, but like one day we'll be at a brand, right, where we can fully own it, and we don't have to, deal with all these different brands. Talk to me about that transition, because it's a lot. It's intimidating. It's there's a lot of things we don't see on the agency side that you're dealing with on the client side now. How was that transition, that acclimation period when you went into SoFi and you're like, wow, there's a lot going on here, and now I'm responsible for the entirety of the website.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there of like you start seeing things when you're in-house that the curtain wasn't pulled back for you when you're in an agency. Because you can probably relate, like working at an agency, sometimes you feel like you are continually maybe pushing for someone to execute something and you want their business to do well, but you need them to do X, Y, Z to make that happen. Well, when you get in-house, you learn that, there's a lot of stakeholders there, and a lot of these stakeholders have no idea what SEO really is. And if you're going to somebody and you're saying, hey, I need you to invest this much money in something, they're going to want to see like what you're going to deliver for them and how exactly it's working. And that takes a lot of time. Garnering budget takes a lot of time. You also have a lot of like technical fire drills that may come up. So yeah, that was definitely like a good sort of learning curve for me. I think there's also some perks where you get more like insight into the roadmap, right? Like what's coming down the pike.
Sure.
How do you need to prepare for that? When you're in the agency side, you're like kind of the last one to know, right? And that's not necessarily the fault of anybody that's in-house. A lot of times it's confidential type of planning. But yeah, having that foresight, I think, is definitely easier because you're not sort of like rushing to market. You can kind of prep a little bit.
Yeah, that's such a good point and advice to agencies, honestly, too, because I think you and I have been in that seat. I'm still in it, right? And it's like, why aren't they implementing? Why aren't they executing this? We're doing so much great value, and you're right. You don't understand all of the internal priorities, all of the different things that are confidential, so to speak. So that's just really good advice to agencies. Just like take a breath, lead with empathy and understand there's more going on than the service that you're selling.
Yeah. And I would say what has always helped me now that I'm like working more directly with agencies from an in-house position is when you do sort of pitch a strategy, instead of like pitching that to me and then me having to put together all these materials and an assessment and a forecast, just sort of do that for me, something I can just clearly hand off. That typically makes things run a bit swifter.
Gotcha. Coming into SoFi, clearly they already had a great brand footprint. I know you've taken that and supercharged that. I mean, shout out to you and your team. It's been impressive what you've been able to accomplish. Aligning SEO with product, brand, and content teams, because I'm sure you came in, right? There's incumbent teams, legacy teams that are functioning in a certain way. Maybe they think they're doing SEO or they're going after certain areas, but they're really not necessarily. How was it? Was it intimidating working with that and saying like, hey, we're going to switch things up significantly? Or were they already in a good place where they could adapt and evolve fairly quickly based on things you were recommending? Talk to me about kind of that alignment process.
Yeah. So when I came in, there was some very minor like SEO efforts. It was mostly people just sort of like tinkering around with it because they had heard about it. So like when I came in, there was like 3 different Search Console accounts that were set up by different people and nobody was talking to each other. And so it was a lot of, I always call it like janitorial work. When you come in somewhere like that, you clean a lot of things up. And then you do have to go into a pitch mode. It's just like being at an agency, right? So like I need to go to these different teams and say, I want to invest money into this, and this, and I'm going to get you these returns, and here's how it works. And the first year, I mean, let's be honest, like I was nervous the whole time because I'm like, I hope this stuff performs.
Yeah.
And it does. You just need to, like SEO especially, we always call it like the hockey stick sort of performance line. And if you just keep showing gradual growth, and then once you get to a point where you have an example of that hockey stick going up, people believe in you, and it becomes a lot easier to drive stuff home.
To convince people. Yeah. I mean, projections with SEO and even other channels as well, it's difficult, right? It's really difficult, but yeah, hats off to you to kind of make that case and convince people that they should really incorporate that. Transitioning, it didn't take us long, but getting into the AI component around workflows as a whole. So you came in with SoFi, Gen AI really wasn't a thing as much. And now obviously it's ubiquitous and everyone's looking for the quick win and the better solution, a way to augment this team and that. This is going to expedite that and all of that. What are some of the core areas that you guys have implemented AI, and where you think that you're cautious for other areas, or you need to make sure you're not totally allowing the AI to run? There's always a human involved, I'm assuming. Talk to me about kind of some of the core workflows, content, technical, et cetera.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like there's parts of AI that everybody is fearing, and it just depends on your perspective. You can view it, and be scared, or you can say, this is something that can work for me. We have been implementing AI to just really make our day-to-day better. So like within our content workflow, it's been very multi-touch with different people. We have to ideate content, which is a manual process in itself. We review, keyword topics and go way granular and look at actual ranking trend in the past. So like, who's Google rewarding? Why are they rewarding them? Who's getting punished for this? What's the distinction between those two categories, and where can we adapt to fit that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that used to be, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed that part of the job, like the investigation part.
Sure.
But let's be honest, like it is time consuming. So you can actually leverage different AI platforms to do that research exactly how you want it, especially when we're getting into this area now where you can have like customizable agents. We were at one point kind of relying on certain proprietary platforms that do exactly that, but you got to kind of work within their framework.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're evolving into a point where you can set up an agent and it tell it to do exactly what you want and the way you want it done. The implementation of that has definitely saved time. I think getting it off the ground, it may be a little bit intimidating for people because your first byproduct isn't going to be perfect. Neither is your second, third, or fourth, or fifth, or your 100th, really. You're going to have to iterate over and over again, but you will get it to a solid point. And to do that iteration is kind of going back to what you're saying. You need human oversight. Mm-hmm. So we have an editorial staff. We also have a compliance staff. Everything that I will ever publish on the site is going to have human eyeballs on it at least 2 or 3 times. The different agents and different like content development AI platforms, they're always going to, I think, need a little bit of a human touch. We've seen things where, maybe the brand tone is a little bit off, like that's easily fixable. But we've also seen things where the financial advice is just like not sound. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's when you really need somebody who is an expert in that field, whether it is on the compliance team or just a general editorial point of view, to go in and correct that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in fintech, you're dealing with people's money, people's livelihood. It's a touchy space. And glad you guys, I always knew you really had a pretty pragmatic process in terms of reviewing everything and QAing everything. Jeff, as you integrate with other teams, content development, et cetera, but talk to me about other channels, because obviously what's LLMs and social evolving significantly as really just a core search platform in itself. And then with AI mode within Chrome really becoming more and more prominent. Are you finding yourself needing to integrate more with those particular channels like paid media, obviously analytics, but other sources and other different departments that you wouldn't necessarily integrate with as a whole? Obviously, paid media is required. Talk to me about your collaboration too, as search has been changing significantly over the last year.
Yeah. There's always been a bit of a crossover with like the paid side, right? Because we can see opportunities there that Google, for some reason still, they won't let us see this type of data. But I leverage the paid team for conversion rate insights. So like this type of search, branded versus non-brand, break it up into different intents. And that sort of shows me like a sweet spot of where I need to put my focus, because we're going to get better returns around that type of concept. Recently, with this sort of transition of a focus into gaining AI visibility in these different LLMs, mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a lot more dependencies from me to other teams, like affiliates, mm-hmm. right? So, mm-hmm. With these different LLMs, a lot of the, I guess you would call it like visibility factor, is your citations, where you're getting citations. And a lot of these citations that are feeding this thing are, a NerdWallet top 10 XYZ.
Oh, yeah, it's
it makes sense, right? But it's mm-hmm. a machine that's looking to return an answer, and that is a very clear answer, even if it's paid for. So in those cases, we can put a spotlight on opportunities where we are missing the mark on those citations. And then I would essentially once I get an idea of like what's the traffic flow that we're getting from any sort of like placements in LLMs, how are those people converting? That'll give me an idea of what kind of business we can drive if we get those citations to place us in that sort of arena. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of me going to different teams with a bag asking for money, you know.
Please, please. But you bring some credibility. That's a good segue into my next question, just around, at your level, Jeff, what advice would you give to managers and other directors and VPs even around trying to articulate the value of SEO and how things are changing? I mean, we're in a world, right, where impressions are going up and click-through rates are going down in certain cases for select queries, select subfolders, and it's a lot, right? It's a lot to deal with. So how do you just make sure that they're aware? Do you have them fixate less on vanity metrics and more on like revenue and conversion related metrics, and state like just, trust the process? Talk to me about how you would kind of articulate a plan. I know you mentioned it earlier a little bit, but yeah, maybe dive a little bit more deeper into that.
Yeah. So my reporting, it's pretty detailed. We actually specifically and intentionally try to report ROI strictly based on non-brand performance.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of dissection that you have to do with data to get to that point. But my pitch to the different business unit leads is like, hey, I'm not going to report on success because we ran a commercial during like an NBA finals game.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to strictly speak to what I'm doing. And I mean, really, I don't know what kind of budgets you may be working with, but like for us, SEO is pretty healthy on the ROI. Like you're getting a lot more from your investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Recently, we've had, there have been curiosities because you're right. Like we are seeing impressions do healthy, but we are seeing some declines in clicks. There's a lot of education that you have to put out for that. People are rightly concerned for that.
Sure.
My communication around that point is like, there was a time where like Amazon launched and we all thought, if you were to talk to me back then and tell me that Best Buy was still booming, I wouldn't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
For things like a quick answer, where people are just trying to figure out like what's the average mortgage rate or something. Yeah, maybe they get that answer from a Google AI overview.
Sure.
But when people are in like a shopping transactional mode, they want to get a feel for the brand and the product. And so I think those sort of like higher tier, high volume queries are still going to drive significant business. And then with the content, yeah, the short queries, maybe we lose some of those clicks, but those are probably low intent clicks anyway, right? Mm-hmm. The longer tail queries, a more convoluted subject, I think people are still more inclined to go read from an expert, right? So somebody who has authority in the space, which has really been a huge focus for us, is trying to improve like that topical authority and the expertise around different financial products.
Sure. Yeah, it's amazing, right? What people are, they're not. It seems like my experience with LLMs in particular, people aren't necessarily citing or requesting to cite sources for advice, right? So getting a query, answer your query, especially around financial advice, and they're clearly LLMs are sourcing content, but they're not necessarily citing the source. And so, yeah, I agree. I think that human element that you guys can bring to the table with like a certified expert would go a long way, and hopefully continue to go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And still, like, let's be honest, like these different LLM platforms, they get stuff so wrong.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's the hallucinating aspect that we've been seeing too. And like, wait, what? Did you just make that up? Right. And then we've also noticed too, is individuals that are getting started within LLMs, the prompting process is pretty terrible. And then they're getting frustrated stating that the LLMs can't produce. But again, I think it's more on them just not understanding or taking the time to really outline prompt engineering process. What have you guys done around prompt engineering specifically? I know you got a lot of stake in AI right now. Are you constantly modifying certain things in terms of your prompt engineering approach Are you testing out a variety of different LLMs? Are you focusing in on just a core set and then advancing as needed? Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah. The prompt stuff is challenging. I'll be honest with you. Like, we are so used to looking at keyword data,
Mm-hmm.
which is very like word, 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 word put together.
Sure.
Chat GPT, like I have conversations with it. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? It's very sort of like casual, a little bit more, a lot more follow-up questions, right? Because it actually, most of the times when I interact with ChatGPT, the last paragraph of whatever it gives back to me is like, would you want me to dive a little bit more into this or dive a little bit more into this?
Mm-hmm.
And you just say, yeah, go for it. So that's the difficult evolution, is to go from the sort of like hard line, here's four words strung together, to a more conversational pitch. So what I've been doing on my side solo is you can go into something like Ahrefs and basically do your normal keyword research, but then go specifically to those related questions.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take it one step further and look at the people also asked data, right? So that people also asked stuff, those are a bit of an overlay with the conversational type of queries that you see in LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
From that, we really want to expand that into a multitude of variations, but all sort of containing that central theme. And then, yeah, measure visibility against competitors across all the platforms. Like let's say in a year, Perplexity is like a clear number one. Well, I want historical data from now for that. And the thing is, none of us knows exactly who's going to be the market lead on this front. It may be a shared market. We don't know. So it's best to probably, get a good grip on like every single one of them.
It's always just I'll never stop. Just our sole reliance, our entire careers are really fixated on one company, right?
Yeah, I know.
And now with this shakeup, it's interesting, right? Our reliance is going to shift, hopefully. Well, not hopefully, but just also I think, yeah, I guess hopefully, because it's just it allows for new ideas, and we're at the cutting edge, so to speak, of this, and so there should be that level of excitement that goes into that. But yeah, I think that's also important. I think also too, what I gleaned from that is just stream of consciousness, Jeff, around how to interact and engage. We love that, and I've outlined that our process a few times with LLMs is establishing the context, assigning the role of the GPT, and then loosely defining the task or the output. And then typically what we like to do is stop that prompt and then outline another prompt to state, interview me questions one by one to learn more about the details. And that just really starts the conversation, it seems, to get to a better product or a better end result. Just to really hone in on the specifics. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, again, if right, we were talking earlier, it's like no one's an AI expert, and if people who say they are, let's transition into that, because I know you guys are evaluating a ton of different tools. You're a massive brand. You've got people hitting you up and pitching you probably all the time. How do you cut through the fluff and recognize that, okay, they got something here, this is willing to test, or this is something, this kind of smoke and mirrors? Jeff, I think, every client that we've worked with in the past, right, that you've worked with in the past on the agency side, they most likely had been burned at one point, right, by an SEO consultant that didn't do their due diligence. I think we're probably going to find that with AI, right? Of hey, we're an AI expert, or we've done this forever, and they don't, right? Or they haven't those experiences. So talk about that long-winded question there around how you evaluate, how do you get through and cut through the fluff?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's definitely taking up most of my brain space.
I imagine.
I would say, when I'm talking to these different vendors, I always ask them two questions. One, can I get in the platform and mess around? Because I want something that is easy for me to just pluck out some finding to share out on a wide level.
Sure.
And two, can you get me in front of somebody on like the account support team? Because if I'm going to be, I'm you can look for things that are just a platform. I'm looking for sort of a full suite, like somebody who can find valuable data points and give me a plan of attack. Because I don't necessarily want my team spending their whole day digging around for that. I want my team driving the execution of that.
Sure.
So I always ask, let me get in the platform, let me mess around with it, let me see if it's easy, and then get me in front of somebody who can tell me directly past things they've done that have sort of moved the needle for AI visibility, and then ask them specifically, like, what about us? Where are we missing the mark? And see them try to do it in real time.
Interesting.
Another sort of piece of advice that I would throw out is, like we've been saying, this is such a new frontier. Everything is basically in beta mode on, trying to deliver not just like metrics, but results. I'm asking everybody just to show me like your technical roadmap. Are you putting major investments in the next year or 2 years or 3 years? Where do you see this going? How are you going to attack that? How are you going to remain like a major player in the space?
Yep.
And there's some people that they think, hey, we got the platform set up. We can tell you where you're missing citations or how you should restructure your content for these high visibility LLM queries. And that's what we're going to do. And then there's some brands that say, here's where we see this going. Here's how we're already betting with the infrastructure that we have. Here's how much we're investing in the engineering. And those are the ones that obviously have like an edge, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's a really good piece of advice, because I think we're all guilty of this, of just the shiny new thing. And it's just, oh, that's going to be the best. And we're going to get the quick wins and we're going to look great in front of our bosses, things like that. But yeah, and you gotta lead with some level of skepticism. And I love that, just getting into the platform yourself. And then of course, really, putting the support people on the phone too, and getting their details. Jeff, since you've been at SoFi, things have evolved, as we discussed a lot. What, your tenure there, what are some of the major milestones? I know you've onboarded, as you mentioned, like you're more full suite. You started with like really about focusing on loans. Now you guys, are full bank and really around financial advice and all of those details. What are some of the proudest moments you've had as relates to your particular position at SoFi?
Great question. There's been a couple just major ranking events that have happened that I've been very proud of. I remember my first one was the business unit lead for personal loans told me verbatim that they would nominate me to be CEO if I got us to rank number 1 for personal loans.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the time we had this is the thing, is like all these products, they were launched, and they were new to the market. And, I'll be honest, it's sometimes it feels like sort of like fighting with a hand behind your back, because I'm going up against brands who their entire domain is this specific product.
Right. You're right.
And we have, 12, 15 different products. But yeah, that was my first big task. It was like in my first 2 years. And I took it seriously and just put everything towards like personal loans. We put out a ton of content and just kept a close eye on it. We're constantly keeping it fresh, constantly trying to drive it forward. Implemented a lot of healthy links, high domain authority, relative, using anchor texts that are keyword centric. And then continually just like messing around with the landing page itself. It was very high touch, but we did eventually like get it to that point. We're constantly in the top 3 there. It's one of our biggest businesses. That's
massive.
Really helped the bottom line of the company. And recently something we've done similar to that is with our mortgage product. So we launched mortgage origination, and you're going up against, obviously like Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah.
And it's challenging, but we have moved into page 1 for like mortgage loans and mortgage lender. What stat that I do love showing out though is when we compare ourselves to Rocket, I mean, they've been around so long. They have I believe, like 10x the number of top 10 keywords that we do. A lot of that we are attacking because they have a lot of like geocentric content, because in the mortgage space, people are trying to look by their zip code about, different information in houses.
Sure.
And so that was a pitch I had to give, is like, hey, if they're ranking for this many keywords because they have this many pages and we have nothing of the sort, which then led us into like, how do we curate this quantity of pages, which is where we start leaning into AI.
Sure.
So we are attacking them on that front. But the stat that I love to show is we are, maybe less keywords than them, but we outperform them in the AI overviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I attribute that to kind of what I was noting earlier, is we've been putting such an emphasis on trying to build up that EEAT.
Yeah, of course.
Which is, I can't believe I'm going to use two acronyms in one sentence here.
I know. Yeah.
EEAT is a big part of the YMYL.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like all the content that I've had my team go back. We add what we call like subject matter expert quotations. We add really strong data citations. We've been doing a lot of like data visualization.
Huge.
A lot of like schema adjustments, schema markup, and improving just like internal linking from really related types of content.
Yeah.
And obviously like just external link building, making sure the links are relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we've also been kind of working on is like, hey, we are a major financial brand. We have millions of members. Where can we leverage like consumer data or member data that is proprietary,
Sure.
which, then shows Google like, hey, we're an expert in the field. We have all this data. Essentially, we should be respected.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has, I think, helped us where we may be struggling against the historical stronghold of a major, brand like Rocket. We can sort of like outflank them and newer features.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a great breakdown, and just leading with authenticity and leading with statistical content, leading with subject matter expert content to add on and adjust. Are you finding that you're getting more into asset diversification outside of just HTML content? Obviously, video is here to stay. How involved are you in that video component? How involved are you with the social distribution content, newsletters, et cetera? The list goes on, right? We're at Session, we're really bullish on just content diversification and the distribution in a ton of different platforms. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think that is like the next step once we really solidify the like AI strategy and how we're going to measure it. Going back to like the citations, yeah, YouTube is used a lot. And also, you think about things where a big focus of these LLMs is like not just your visibility, but the brand sentiment.
Of course. Yep.
And if you have a healthy relationship with people on different platforms, that will benefit how you're spoken about on these different platforms. So yeah, it's definitely, you need to diversify where your brand is for these LLMs to garner information about you. I think it's just a step two for us, because right now we just need to like solidify how are we even measuring this stuff? Like and there's a million ways you can do it. I've seen different pitches about how you can measure this stuff. A lot of it is, I don't want to say inauthentic, but a little cushiony kind
Sure,
of.
of course. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's just a learning curve, but we'll get there. And eventually, yeah, we'll sort of like spread the brand out as wide as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. There's like just a lot of conversations happening about, and we talked about financial advice and different pundits offering their own advice, and large social platforms like Reddit, and different groups, subgroups within Reddit, subgroups within Meta, most likely too, So there's a lot of just things going on. So there's an abundance amount of questions being asked, right? Who knows who's actually answering those questions? So hopefully, SoFi is clearly a reputable resource. 1 to 2 years from now, it's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. As we're an SEO agency, paid media, and analytics, and in terms of like what the offering is going to look like, right? To me, it seems like more business immersion, right, and more business consulting because of how the landscape is shifting so much. Are you thinking that your role is going to dramatically shift? Are you thinking it's going to kind of, there's still going to be a web experience needed, right? There's still going to be content requirements. LLMs theoretically are going to finish crawling the entirety of the web by end of next year. They have to, continue to get content and perspective for up-to-date trends and things like that. I'm kind of asking of like, what are your thoughts in terms of evolution of SEO? Is it going to change significantly? Is it going to be called SEO anymore? I know people are saying GEO and other acronyms out there. What are your thoughts there? A lot to unpack.
Yeah. 2 years, we'll all be unemployed. That's
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are kind of paranoid about that. I'm really not. I view it as a big opportunity. I think what we all need to sort of strap in and come to the realization on is things are going to move a lot faster. Because it's not like I'm going to be the only person that has access to data and I'm seeking out opportunities where I have a gap I need to fill. Everybody's going to be doing that. So it kind of goes back to like building that infrastructure of where AI can help you move faster, and then finding those data points faster and trying to fill those gaps faster. I don't think like SEO is dead. I hear that every year.
Exhausting.
Yeah, every year. I think, it's just like what I said, like the certain queries, people want to experience the brand. They want to get to know
I love that.
What they may be purchasing. And also, like Google has sort of this like pilot where you can do just the AI experience. And I haven't heard from people they really like that. It's almost like people still want to be a little bit in control of the information that they decide to put in front of themselves.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, like that's why you would research anything on your own rather than just simply asking somebody their opinion and walking away with it. So search is going to stay. I think maybe another frontier that we all kind of need to realize is like Bing. It should be important now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Bing it's driving a lot of these. So yeah, whereas, I never reported on Bing performance metrics at all. The vast amount of our traffic is obviously from Google. But you are going to have to pay a little bit attention to that and get that going if you want to really have like the wider array of LLM and search visibility.
Yeah. Shout out to Bing.
Yeah.
I always think Bing of just like the laptop that you bought from Best Buy, and that's the default the browser.
Microsoft Surface. Yeah,
exactly. And the first step is to change it to Chrome, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I will say Bing has a really pretty background photography. I like to look at the
brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
some of the best.
Google's boring, dude. They just every now and then they do something for a holiday, but that's about it.
Yeah, Google take some lessons from Bing. They're carving off that 5% market share. Jeff, one of the busiest guys in SEO that I know you got a million things going on. So obviously really appreciate your time. How do you stay motivated, Jeff? Who inspires you? Do you have internal team members that you really look up to? Is external partners? And how do you keep on the cutting edge? I know you have a robust team and people are bringing ideas to you all the time. You're getting pitched all the time. It's a lot to digest. What do how do you keep it fresh? And again, if you want to make any shout outs, feel free.
Yeah. You have to, it's tough sometimes staying motivated in any job, right? And especially in times like now where I'm kind of like dipping into so many different new things.
Sure.
I would say I keep myself motivated by really like celebrating my own wins and my team's wins.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime we have like a good performance success, I make sure to share that out as much as I can, and celebrate it. And when you get into a point of where you're reporting on, only non-brand and getting that down to an ROI level, and you see how much business you're driving for the business, that keeps you inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say, like, don't get into a rotisserie approach where you're doing the same thing every month over and over again. Try new stuff out, even if you are 25% confident that it'll, help you improve.
Mm-hmm.
Try it out. Keep up to date with like case studies, things other people are doing, see how that can apply. So you always kind of have that sense of like, I am sort of learning on the job. You never stop learning. Yeah, I mean, my team definitely keeps me inspired. They're all super hard workers. What I tell every one of them when I hire them is, your main job is to keep coming to me with ideas.
That maintain curiosity. Yeah, maintain.
Absolutely. And they do, maybe even too much. Yeah, like nothing's a dumb idea, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, making sure, they're kind of keeping their ear to the ground. And I would say SoFi, really as a company internally, we are really good at just an optimistic view of the future and where we're going to be. Like, we are dead set on being a top 10 financial company in the world. And we see ourselves moving in that direction. And so when the brand is moving that direction and the CEO is speaking to it and the CMO is speaking to it, and you have the data to show that you're driving some of that bottom line, yeah, it makes every day kind of exciting to go in.
And I think that's why you and I too is like, we gravitate towards this too, because it's fresh, it's keeping us on our toes, and there are so many different solutions to problem, and we're problem solvers, really. That's what we want to do, and we want to obviously do right by the project, and of course prove out the value. So I love that, and I love just the positive affirmations and just the keeping the team curious. That's huge. We were talking with Jeff Haas, who's the COO of Seer Interactive, and he was just talking about just how that is part of the culture, that is just ingrained in the culture around curiosity and asking questions and ideating all the time. That's really big. Jeff, as we wrap things up here, where can people engage with you? Talk about SoFi, talk about your own personal branding, stuff like that. Where can people find you?
Yeah. I mean, probably the easiest is just over LinkedIn. I tend to stay in a decent amount of like just conversations with other players in the space, whether it's just sort of general trends or, things they're working on specifically. But yeah, feel free to strike up conversations. I love talking about the industry itself. And yeah, I would love anybody to reach out that would be interested.
Great. Excellent. Jeff, appreciate your time. Thanks again. Great perspective and on the enterprise level, a lot of things going on. Everyone check out SoFi. They're a big player in the space, and feel free to connect with Jeff. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.